ready? Oh, wait. I'm excited. I don't know what to do right now. I got a mic in my hand. I'm excited. I'm excited for you to be here. I'm excited for you to be watching. I know this service will bless your life. Worship. Go get you some Kleenex because you might cry. And then go get you another box of Kleenex for the message, because we just moving in the spirit. Amen. Let's go, y'all.
God, we're here to worship you. You're greater than I know. God, we're here to worship you. You're greater than I know. You give life. You are love. You bring light to the darkness. You give hope. You restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. We sing. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out. We pour out. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. Oh, great are you, Lord.
You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness. You give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord.
It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. And great are you, Lord. Greater than I know. Greater than I know. Greater than I know. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. And all the earth, will shout your our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord. Hey, we sing all the earth. you're the glory in our lungs. Thank you, Jesus.
So we
We pour out our praise. You deserve the glory, God.
pour out our praise. We pour out our praise to you.
Come on, sing it straight to him. Thank you, Jesus. You
Pour
deserve,
out our praise.
you deserve.
Pour out our praise. Pour out our praise. At your
Stand in
feet,
your
at your
presence.
feet. Pour out our praise. Pour out our praise. Pour out our praise.
Tiny Church, today I'm going to talk about jealousy and envy. I know you're really excited about that, aren't you? Jealousy and envy. So don't turn this off yet. I want to talk about this story that's found in the ancient Hebrew text. It's about this king who went crazy. His name is King Saul. He's the very first king in all of Israel, and he reigned for around 20-ish years. And then his predecessor, we're going to talk about him, his name is David. Now, you might know David. David was a shepherd boy, and he slain this massive giant named Goliath. The story we're looking at here is king of Israel, King Saul, up against the Philistines, this massive giant named Goliath. And David was a part of this battle. He throws a stone right in the middle of his head and knocks him dead. And then what takes place next is pretty interesting. They're going back to the Israel camp, and they're all awaiting King Saul. Remember, he's the king of Israel. They're waiting. They have a parade. This would have been custom whenever they would have won a battle. And there's a huge parade. There's cymbals. There's musical instruments. There's dancing in the streets. And then a song breaks out, this really, really great song. And these ladies begin to sing. They say, Saul has killed his thousands. Oh, man. Thousands. This is good. But then the song takes an interesting little turn. It says, David, his tens of thousands. Now, wait a minute. Saul, thousands. David, tens of thousands. And here's where we pick up in this story. In 1 Samuel chapter 18, verse 8, Saul was very angry. This refrain displeased him. They have credited David with tens of thousands, he thought, but me with only thousands. What more can he get but the kingdom? You see, he thought, David was coming for his crown. Verse 9 says this, and from that time on, Saul kept a jealous eye on David. Later in the story, it says that there's an evil spirit that overtook Saul, and then he would have grabbed his spear in his house, and he hurled it at David 2 times. Twice. And David got away. Not once, but twice. He gets away. And this is what Saul is actually thinking to himself. I'm going to pin David to the wall. That's what Saul's thinking and feeling as he throws these spears. See, envy and jealousy can produce some really crazy, wild things, can't it? These death wishes upon other people, this anger, this rage, this discontentment, this type of comparison. I don't have what I want, so I'm going to throw spears at those things. See, envy and jealousy, it's crazy. Now, in our culture, it's easy to spot jealousy and envy, isn't it? Like, we can see it on Twitter, we can see it on the news headlines, we can see it on Instagram. We can even spot people like, oh, she's envious and he's jealous, and they're always comparing one another. It's easy to spot in our culture today. But here's the question that you and I have to ask ourselves. Where is there envy and jealousy in me? Here's what I've found about my own life is that envy and jealousy for me has distracted me and deterred me more than anything from my purpose and from experiencing peace. It's jealousy and it's envy. This idea of being distracted, I'll illustrate it this way. Whenever I go to the gym, I have my AirPods so I can listen to podcasts or books. I have my exercise for that day, everything plotted out. I know exactly what I'm doing so I don't get distracted. I'm in and out. I'm not there to play around. I'm focused, hyper-focused is how I am. So get my volume all the way turned up. I don't want to be distracted by anything. And this one time, just a few weeks ago, I'm literally sitting there. I'm listening to something, a book or a podcast. Headphones in the middle of my set. And I hear yelling taking place down the way in the weight room. I mean, I heard it. Everyone heard it. So it's like I kind of turned down my volume and I look down. There's this guy. He's yelling all of his reps. He's like, 1, 2. And then he says this. I cannot make these stories up. He's like, almost done. Almost there. Drops his weights, done. Then he turns around and look, I'm like, either this guy has zero self-awareness or he likes having all the attention on him. But I tell you the truth, it completely distracted me. I couldn't remember what I was listening to. I couldn't remember what set I was in. I didn't remember what exercise I was doing. I was like, listen, one thought I had was like, look at this guy just encouraging himself. Man. But I was overly distracted. And I think in the same way, this is what jealousy and envy can do in our lives. You look at Saul's story. He was so distracted. He was the king of Israel. He had a job to lead the Israelites well. This predecessor, David, instead of being a predecessor, it could have been a protege. He could have taught him and led him well. Instead, he spent the rest of his life hunting David down through the hills, trying to kill him. And then he was wounded so bad, Saul, in a battle, that he eventually just took his own life. It's interesting what envy and jealousy can do. It can actually kill your peace. This is what it says. Proverbs 14:30 says this, a heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones. Envy rots the bones. This word bones, it's giving extra emphasis to the inner person, the inner man, the inner woman, the bones of the inside. It's your entire essence. We would say this word soul in the English, but it's the word nephesh in Hebrew. It's the entire being, and envy has the potential to rot from the inside out. So what do we do to discard envy in our lives? How do we discard jealousy out of our lives so then the bones don't rot? Here's what I'm convinced of that I've found in my own life that combats envy the most, and it's gratitude. Just gratitude. Whenever envy and jealousy begins to creep in, you begin to exercise gratitude, being grateful. There's 2 little takeaways that we can do. Whenever these things creep in, here's the truth, only you know what it feels like when envy and jealousy comes in. It might not be the same as your neighbor, but there's something inside you that you know when that thing creeps up, oh man, I'm angry, envy's coming over me. Here's my encouragement is in those moments, force yourself to say these 2 words under your breath or out loud or in your head, thank you. Just thank you. And the more and more you do this, what you're doing, you're building the muscle of gratitude. You're creating discipline in your life to be more grateful. The second thing is you actually write down what you're grateful for. Have a grateful journal, whether that's the first thing you do when you wake up or the first thing you do before you go to bed. Write down all the things you're grateful for. And at first, it might be like 2 or 3 things. You're like, I don't have a lot to be grateful for right now, to be honest. Not too many things are going very well. But 2 things turn into like 5 things, and then 10 things, and then 12 things, and then 24 things. And next thing you know, you're like writing things. I'm grateful for the sun hitting my face as I walked into work today. I'm grateful for the cup of coffee that I had. I'm grateful for my children's laugh. I'm grateful for the mess that they made because I have something to clean up. It tells me and reminds me I have children. I'm grateful for these things. Finding areas in your life to exercise gratitude. So what would it look like for you? What would it look like if you became a person known for gratitude, not envy and jealousy. May we become people who experience life and peace even in our bones. Amen? Amen.
Amen. Amen. Grateful. Thank you. Simple, it's the simple things that God asks of us. But the most simplest things makes the biggest impacts in our lives. So I encourage you, as Trevor did, find yourself a journal and get to write what you're grateful for. If this message blessed you, comment. Tell us how it blessed you. Subscribe so you can see the rest of the series. And last but not least, share. Share with somebody. We love you. God bless you. Peace.